Vanakkam. Welcome to the monthly news bulletin of Yarl Marai TV. News editor Reverend Father Anton Stephen. Sponsored by Reverend Father S.J. Emmanuel. I am Pillainayagam.
I am Jeriksha Judson.
First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV appoints Right Reverend Dr. Anton Ranjith Pillainayagam as the new Bishop of the Diocese of Jaffna.
Ongoing tragedy, 412 human skeletal remains recovered so far from the Chemmani mass grave.
40th anniversary of 1986 Karunaratnam fishermen killings observed.
Roots of History award presented posthumously to Father Karunaratnam in Pillainayagam.
Jaffna civil society representatives support allegations of genocide.
Tamil Lawyers Forum urges Catholic Bishops' Conference to reconsider position on Tamil genocide.
Now the news in detail. His Holiness Pope Leo XIV has appointed Auxiliary Bishop of the Archdiocese of Colombo, Right Reverend Dr. Anton Ranjith Pillainayagam as the new Bishop of the Diocese of Jaffna. The appointment was officially announced on Monday, June 29th. Born in Jaffna in 1966, Bishop Anton Ranjith Pillainayagam was ordained a priest for the Archdiocese of Colombo in the year 2000. During his priestly ministry, he has served in a variety of pastoral, educational, and administrative roles. He holds a Bachelorate in Theology from Rome, a Bachelor of Mathematics from the University of Jaffna, a Diploma in Education from Colombo, a Master of Education from the United Kingdom, and both Master of Philosophy and Master of Arts degree from the University of Jaffna. On July 13, 2020, the late Pope Francis appointed Bishop Anton Ranjith Pillainayagam as Auxiliary Bishop of the Archdiocese of Colombo. He was ordained Bishop on August 29, 2020. Subsequently, on August 19, 2024, Pope Francis appointed him Apostolic Administrator of the Diocese of Baticlo, a role he continues to serve. Bishop Anton Ranjith Pillainayagam succeeded Right Reverend Dr. Justiniana Prahasam, who is retiring after serving as Bishop of Jaffna. With his appointment by the Holy Father, he becomes the new shepherd of the Diocese of Jaffna. The apostolic letter of appointment from Pope Leo XIV was read publicly by Bishop Justiniana Prahasam during a special gathering of the clergy held at the Bishop's house in Jaffna on Monday, June 29, formally announcing the Holy Father's decision to the priest of the diocese.
The third phase of excavation at the mass grave site in the Situpati area of Chemmani, Jaffna was temporarily concluded on June 23rd after 32 days of continuous excavation work. Officials confirmed that a total of 412 human skeletal remains have been identified so far. Of these, 409 sets of remains have been fully excavated and recovered during the third phase of the investigation. In addition to the skeletal remains, several items were recovered from the site, including small bead fragments, bangle, nails, plastic materials, and a large metal object, which are expected to assist in the ongoing investigation. The excavation is scheduled to resume on July 15th, when the next phase of the forensic investigation will continue.
The 40th remembrance of the 31 fishermen from Karunaratnam who were killed by Sri Lankan military personnel at sea near Mandaidivu in 1986 was observed on June 10th with a memorial service. The commemoration was organized by the parish priest of Karunaratnam, Reverend Father Reconsider. The observance began with a memorial Holy Mass at St. James Church, Karunaratnam, followed by a tribute ceremony at the memorial monument dedicated to the victims. Relatives of the deceased, parishioners and members of the local community gathered to remember the 31 fishermen and offer prayer and floral tributes in their honor. The remembrance marked 4 decades since the tragic incident, serving as a time to honor the lives of the fishermen and preserve the memory of one of the most painful events in the history of the Karunaratnam fishing community.
A conference titled Contemporary Politics and the Role of Former Cadres, organized by the Association for the Welfare of Former Cadres, was held on June 16th in Pillainayagam, drawing participation from religious leaders, political representatives, families of former cadres, and members of the public. The event commenced with the lighting of a memorial flame symbolizing remembrance and reconciliation. This was followed by a moment of silence and floral tributes paid in honor of those who lost their lives during the Sri Lankan armed conflict. Participants collectively reflected on the long-lasting impact of the conflict and the importance of fostering dialogue in the post-war context. The program included keynote addresses focusing on the evolving role of former combatants in contemporary politics and society, as well as broader discussions on reconciliation, social reintegration, and peace-building efforts in the Northern Province. A significant highlight of the event was the presentation of the Roots of History Award, which recognized individuals who made outstanding contributions to society during and after the conflict period. During the ceremony, the late Reverend Father Maria Karunaratnam, a priest of the Diocese of Jaffna, human rights defender and former director of the Northeast Human Rights Office, was posthumously honored with the Roots of History Award. He was recognized for his dedicated humanitarian service and advocacy for human rights during the conflict period, during which he was killed while engaged in such work. Organizers noted that the recognition was intended to acknowledge his enduring legacy and commitment to justice and dignity for affected communities. The conference concluded with continued discussions among participants, emphasizing the need for inclusive political dialogue and sustained efforts towards reconciliation in the region.
A protest calling for the release of the civilians' private land in Pillainayagam North, which remain under military control, was held on June 15th in front of the Jaffna District Secretariat. The demonstration brought together affected residents, religious leaders, political representatives, civil society activists, and members of the public. Protesters highlighted the long-standing displacement of families from their ancestral lands, particularly from the areas of Orani and Mailati, noting that they have been unable to return for nearly 36 years. Speakers at the protest stressed the urgent need for the release of occupied private lands and called on authorities to take immediate steps toward resettlement and restoration of livelihoods for displaced families. They emphasized that prolonged displacement has severely affected housing, economic stability, and social life in the affected communities. At the conclusion of the demonstration, a memorandum outlining the protested demands was formally handed over to the Jaffna District Secretary, Mr. Maradalingam Pradeep, and the Governor of the Northern Province, Mr. Nagalingam Vedanayahan, for onward submission to the President. Organizers stated that the appeal represents a continued demand for the people of Pillainayagam North for justice, land rights, and the right to return to their original places of residence. They further urged the authorities to initiate meaningful dialogues and expedite solutions to address the long-standing grievance of the displaced population.
The Conference of Major Religious Superiors serving in Sri Lanka was held from June 21st to 24th, bringing together religious leaders from across the country for a 4-day program of prayer, reflection, discussions, and visits to significant religious and historical sites. The gathering was chaired by the President of the Conference of Major Religious Superiors, Reverend Father Justin Chauhan of the Congregation of the Blessed Sacrament. The program commenced on June 21st with participants travelling from Colombo to the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu, where they took part in the Holy Eucharist and a special prayer service. They also visited the Manna Martyrs de la Salle House and the Alcoholics Anonymous Rehabilitation Center at Thottawali, reflecting on pastoral care and social healing ministries. On June 22nd, the main sessions were held at the Holy Family Provincial House in Jaffna. The day included the presentation of reports, group discussions, and a keynote address. A significant academic input was delivered by former Vice Chancellor of the University of Jaffna, Professor Sri Satkunaraja, who presented on Beyond Boundaries, the Human Quest for Fulfillment. Participants were also welcomed by the Bishop of Jaffna, Right Reverend Dr. Justin Gnana Pragasam, who met with the delegates during the gathering. On June 23rd, the delegates undertook a study and exposure visit to several cultural, religious, and historical landmarks in Jaffna. These included the Nallur Kandaswamy Temple, Nilavareval, Sangamitta Viharaya, the Theological Seminary at Maradanar Madam, the Jaffna Public Library, Jaffna Fort, St. Francis Xavier Major Seminary, and St. Mary's Cathedral. The visits provided participants with an opportunity to reflect on the region's rich spiritual heritage and historical experiences. The final day, June 24th, featured concluding discussions followed by field visits. Participants visited the Holy Family Convent National School Jaffna, recognized as the first school established by the Holy Family Sisters in Sri Lanka, as well as the Chemmani mass grave excavation site, a location of deep historical and humanitarian significance. Around 40 priests, religious sisters, brothers and pastoral workers participated in the 4-day national gathering, which emphasized dialogue, pastoral collaboration and engagement with both spiritual and social realities in the country.
The 38th death anniversary of human rights activist Reverend Father Chandra Fernando, who was shot dead at St. Mary's Cathedral in Batticaloa, was commemorated on June 6th. The remembrance event was organized by the Interfaith Union of Caritas Ahead and was held under the leadership of its director, Reverend Father Anton. During the ceremony, a floral tribute was paid to the portrait of Father Chandra Fernando and memorial lamps were lit in his honor. This was followed by floral tributes at the late priest's grave within the cathedral premises, along with a moment of silent and commemorative addresses reflecting on his life and service. The event was attended by interfaith religious leaders, members of the Interfaith Union, family members of Father Chandra Fernando, civil society activists, and members of the public who gathered to pay their respects. Father Chandra Fernando served as the chairman of the Batticaloa District Citizens Committee during the mid-1980s. Despite facing significant challenges and threats, he remained committed to defending the rights of civilians. He was known for advocating on behalf of innocent individuals who had been detained, often visiting military camps and intervening for their release. Reverend Father Chandra Fernando was killed on June 6, 1988 while at his parish residence. Reports at the time stated that he was shot dead by an unidentified armed group, allegedly operating in collaboration with the Indian military presence in the region.
Representatives of Jaffna civil society organizations have expressed support for the statement made by Father Jeevantha Piris that a systematic genocide was carried out against the Tamil people in Sri Lanka. Addressing a media briefing in Jaffna, they said the attacks on civilians in Mullawaikal, the large number of deaths within designated no-fire zones and documented human rights violations have been highlighted in various international reports. They also referred to submissions made to the United Nations by the late Bishop Rayapu Joseph. The representatives stressed that the experiences of affected communities, information on enforced disappearances, and reports by human rights organizations must be given due consideration. They further stated that the Tamil people have faced not only wartime atrocities but also ongoing structural genocide through the erosion of political rights, demographic changes, land appropriation, militarization, and threats to their cultural and historical identity. They emphasized that these issues require serious international attention and accountability, reiterating their call for an independent international investigation into the events at Mullawaikal and the broader allegations of genocide and crimes against humanity. The representative said that establishing the truth, ensuring justice for victims, and holding those responsible accountable are essential for genuine reconciliation and lasting peace. The media briefing was attended by Sivaguru Adina Mudalvar Tavathirvelan Swamigal, along with representatives of religious, social, and civil society organizations, who collectively endorsed the call for truth, justice, accountability, and an international investigative mechanism.
The Tamil Lawyers Forum has called on the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka to reconsider its position on allegation that genocide was perpetrated against the Tamil people during the final phase of the armed conflict. In a recent statement, the forum argued that describing the conflict solely as a war against terrorism overlooks historical realities and the lived experience of Tamils. It cited events such as the Sinhala-only Act, anti-Tamil pogroms, the burning of the Jaffna Public Library, Black July 1983, and long-standing discrimination as contributing factors to the conflict. The forum also noted that the United Nations has repeatedly raised concern over alleged human rights violation, war crimes and crimes against humanity committed during the final stages of the war in 2009. Referring to the late Bishop of Manna, Right Reverend Dr. Rayapu Joseph, it said credible answers are still lacking regarding approximately 146,000 Tamil civilians reported missing and highlighted that the Northeast Bishops' Council declared May 18 as a day of Tamil Genocide Remembrance in 2022, expressing support for the Justice and Peace Commission and the clergy of the Diocese of Jaffna. The forum stressed that reconciliation must be based on true justice, accountability and mutual understanding. It urged the Catholic Bishops' Conference to adopt a more balanced and inclusive approach that acknowledges the suffering and grievance of the Tamil people, while promoting genuine dialogue and lasting peace.
The chairman of the Mannar District Citizens Committee, Reverend Father Marcus, has expressed support for the views of Reverend Father Jeevanda Peris regarding allegations of a systematic genocidal process against the Tamil people. In a video statement, Father Marcus said Father Peris had shared his views based on his own experiences and observations, and that the people of Mannar received them with respect and responsibility. He also expressed concern over the remarks made by Reverend Father Jude Krishantha of the Archdiocese of Colombo, stating that they had raised issues relating to human rights and freedom of expression and caused disappointment among many Catholics and the wider public. Father Marcus noted that numerous international reports have documented allegations of systematic violence and human rights violations against Tamil civilians in the north and east. He stressed that any attempt to silence Father Peris should be opposed and affirmed that continuous solidarity and support of the people of Mannar and the Catholic community. He concluded by emphasizing the need to protect freedom of expression and encourage open discussion on truth, justice and human rights.
The feast day of the Bishop of Jaffna, Right Reverend Dr. Justin Bernard Gnanapragasam, was celebrated on June 2nd at St. Mary's Cathedral, Jaffna. The event was jointly organized by the Jaffna Diocesan Catechetical Center and the Catholic Teachers Association. The program was coordinated by Reverend Father Duke Vincent, Director of the Catechetical Center and Spiritual Director of the Catholic Teachers Association. The celebration commenced with a ceremonial procession in which the bishop was escorted from the bishop's house to St. Mary's Cathedral by school students accompanied by a marching band. The Holy Mass at the Cathedral was presided over by Right Reverend Dr. Justin Gnanaprahasam. Following the Mass, a felicitation ceremony was held to mark the Bishop's feast day. Medals and certificates were also presented to 35 students who achieved outstanding results in the 2025 Catechism examination. Priests, religious sisters, school principal, teachers, students, and members of the faithful participated in the celebration.
The newly constructed St. Anthony's Church at the 155th milepost in the parish of Pillainayagam was officially blessed and opened on June 6th. The opening ceremony, which coincided with the first day of preparations for the Feast of St. Anthony, was organized under the guidance of parish priest Reverend Father Jayakumar. The Bishop of Jaffna, Right Reverend Dr. Justin Bernard Gnanapragasam, blessed and declared the church open and celebrated the Holy Mass. A large number of priests, religious sisters and faithful participated in the celebration. The history of the church dates back to 1975, when it was first established as a thatched chapel by Reverend Father Edmund Michael of the Oblates of Mary Immaculate. In 1986, during the tenure of Reverend Father Pius, the chapel was rebuilt in hexagonal design. The church was subsequently damaged during an aerial attack by Sri Lankan Air Force in 1996. It was rebuilt in a rectangular form in 2000 under the leadership of the then parish priest, Reverend Father Devasakaya. Following the resettlement of families after the final stages of the war in Mullivaikkal, the foundation stone for the present octagonal church was laid in 2010 during the tenure of Reverend Father Jesudas. Construction work was later continued under Reverend Father Sylvester Das and was brought to completion during the tenure of Reverend Father Jayakumar, culminating in the opening of the new church. It is noteworthy that financial assistance for the construction project was provided not only by parishioners but also by faithful from neighboring parishes and members of the Hindu community.
The opening ceremony and annual feast of the newly constructed St. Anthony's Church in Sudandarapuram Udayarkattu were held on June 14th. The event was organized by the parish priest Reverend Father Alvin Krubaharan. The celebration began with a ceremonial procession led by the band of St. Jude Thaddeus Parish Sunday School, which escorted the Bishop of Jaffna, Right Reverend Dr. Justin Gnanaprahasam, from the main road to the church premises. The bishop subsequently blessed and officially opened the newly constructed church, which had been built with an impressive architectural designs, and presided over the feast day Holy Mass. Priests, religious sisters, parishioners and devotees from the surrounding areas participated in the celebrations. And now to conclude the monthly news bulletin. Here are the headlines once again. Pope Leo XIV appoints Right Reverend Dr. Anton Pillainayagam as the new Bishop of the Diocese of Jaffna.
Ongoing tragedy, 412 human skeletal remains recovered so far from the Chemmani mass grave.
40th anniversary of 1986 Guru fishermen killings observed.
Roots of History award presented posthumously to Father Karunaratnam in Pillainayagam.
Jaffna civil society representatives support allegations of genocide.
Tamil Lawyers Forum urges Catholic Bishops' Conference to reconsider position on Tamil genocide.
Thank you for watching. Vanakkam.